Welcome to Edge Time. This is the disassembly video for the Benchmade Bugout, and this is a knife that is a little bit of a pain to disassemble. It's not impossible. It's not quite as daunting as it looks, being an access lock, but it can be a little tedious. So just bear with me, and I will do my best to get this thing totally stripped down and put back together in a timely fashion. So we will start here with the pocket clip, as I usually like to do. Just two screws holding this pocket clip in. One of the nice things about this knife is that most of the screws on it are the same size. So all of these little T6 body screws are the same size. The clip screws are slightly longer. I should have mentioned at the beginning that there's only two bit sizes that you'll need to disassemble this knife. The T6, and then the pivot screw is, I think, a T10? Yes, it is T10. So you'll just need T6 and T10. So I like to start at the back and work my way to the front. So I'm just going to start pulling these screws out. You may notice that my pivot screw might actually be on a different side than some other bug outs. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to look. But I believe it can actually go in either way. Like most knives, you can't you can only put it in one way, but I believe on this one it actually can go in either way, to where the screw can be on the, so to speak, right side or the left side of the knife. If you hear weird clicking noises, the lamp that I'm using for light is being a little bit noisy, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it, so apologies for that. So like I said, all these little T6 body screws are the same length, so you don't really have to worry about getting those mixed up. Sometimes these screws don't like to come out, and that's because they're not actually screwing into a barrel spacer, they're screwing into the little bit of steel liner that there is in this thing. Like I said in the review, this thing is not fully lined. There's just a little bit of a liner up here where the blade meets the fiberglass reinforced nylon. So yeah, sometimes, there we go, that one did come out. It helps to have a good magnetic screwdriver. And if you're looking for a Torx screwdriver for disassembling your knives, this Klein I just got the other day, and it's okay, but I have already had to do a little bit of work on the T6 bit, and that's pretty common. Most T6 bits just don't last very long, but the best one that I've had is a Wera. My little Wera T6 is excellent. It is not stripped out at all yet, still going strong. So just make sure that you look around at all your options when you're looking for precision screwdrivers like this. So here's our T10. Go and take that pivot screw out. Okay, so there's all of the hardware off of it. Now we can just start. Let's see, I want to do this from the open position here to begin with. So let's just peel this scale off. There we go. So that one just came off right off of the spacers there. So very nice. Okay, so now what is best to do is to go ahead and take this spring out, and it will be important to know which spring is which. You're not going to get them mixed up, they are different, but yeah, so there's that spring off. So now to take this little bit of liner off, just pull it up a little bit, and you're going to need to get this access lock piece down here into this, or rather you actually lift the little bit of liner. See if we can do this without cutting myself here. This is not something that I do every day, so it will take me a second to remember how to do it. There we go. So there we go. So kind of the whole thing is wanting to come out in one piece, which is okay. But you can put it apart, or you can you can put it back together one piece at a time. You don't have to make this whole assembly and then somehow try to wedge it into the knife. So there is our pivot screw. Here is our other scale. You can take these barrel spacers off. So there we go. So now the handles are completely bare. You can get in there and clean those. One of my favorite ways is to take a Dremel here on the lowest speed possible with a nice little nylon brush. This won't scratch anything, and you can just sort of get in there and clean out like that. If you want to do it dry, if you want to just wash it out, you just use a toothbrush, and I guess you could do the same thing that I do with the Dremel. You could just do that with a toothbrush and that'll work just fine. Just the Dremel is a little bit faster, more thorough. So let's set those off to the side here. Okay, take this other spring out. There we go. There's our two springs and our axis lock. Here's our stop pin here. All right. And of course, our bronze washers, which are part of what make the Bugout such a great knife. So there we go. There's the Bugout completely disassembled. Only took a couple minutes. Wasn't so bad. Assembly can be a little more challenging, however, so we'll go ahead and get right into that. I don't know that it matters which side you start the assembly from because, like I said, you can actually put that screw post in there either way. So I'll just start from the, I guess we'll say if you're looking at the spine, the left side of the knife here. So get our liner in here. When you're putting it back together, it probably doesn't matter if you put the wrong liner in because, I mean, they're exactly the same. But you can sort of see where the washers have worn away the paint a little bit here. So I'll just put that one in there. And one thing I think I'll actually do this time. No, that's probably not a good idea. I was going to try to put this screw in here to hold that piece of liner down, but I don't know how well that would work. That might make things a little more difficult than they need to be. But I will try it. We'll see how that goes. So first of all, just get this little piece of axis lock in here and get the correct spring on. So the way to tell if this the correct spring is to of course have this little loop here. It goes over the axis lock, but then you'll see there is a little bit of a bend here in the spring, and that needs to be able to fit right here into this little cutout here. So there we go. So there is that's one half of our axis lock mechanism. I'm going to go ahead and put it here, and I'm going to try putting this screw in and see how this works. Come on. These screws are really little and short, so it can be difficult to get a grip on them. There we go. So that's in there nice and tight. I think this will actually work pretty well. We'll see how this goes. So go ahead and put our pivot pin in there. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put in one bronze washer. Go ahead and pull the lock back and stick the blade onto that pivot. All right, and then put our second bronze washer on and the second liner here. So to put this liner on, what you'll probably need to do, oh yes, definitely make sure you go ahead and put the stop pin in. I made this mistake the last time I tried to put this knife back together. I had it mostly back together, and then I realized I had an extra piece and I hadn't put the stop pin back in. So make sure you get that back in there. It can be a little challenging because the blade is wanting to put pressure against it. There we go. Okay, so now we'll just try to get this on here, hold down that little stop pin. So this we'll just want to slip over in the broad cutout section there. There we go. Okay, so our stop pin sort of wanted to fall out there again, but that is no big deal. Because what we can do is just get it out of there, get this where we need it, and then sort of just slip the stop pin in there, possibly. There we go. I forgot that this stop pin is actually faceted on one side, so you have to make sure you get that in there right. It can be a pain. All right, so I'm learning with you all right now. I'm trying to make this educational, but I'm also the one learning here. So try to get this stop pin in here and seated. And what I think I'll actually do this time, which I probably should have done from the beginning, is go ahead and screw the stop pin in. So get our T6 here. This might be the way that Benchmade intended this thing to be reassembled. Of course, they'll probably tell you that you're not even supposed to be working on it, but who's actually going to send their bug out in for maintenance? I'm sure some people do, but not me. These things are not wanting to magnetize for me today. There we go. Okay, so now we've got this stop pin screwed in, so now it won't be moving around on us while we're trying to put this liner in. There we go. So now our access lock is mostly reassembled, but we have to get this second spring on here. There we go. So now our access lock is reassembled. Now we just have to get the rest of the knife fully reassembled. So let's go ahead and get our barrel spacers in here. Now one thing you'll notice with the spacers is that they are milled. So you will have to account for that. They do have milled faces here. You'll just have to make sure that you get them into their little cutouts, right? Which can be challenging. There we go. Okay, now we can just get this scale back on here. I like to always put my pivot pin in first just to hold the whole knife together. I will need to readjust this once I'm done with the rest of the reassembly here. I'm going to go and just close it up here. Okay, now I'm going to work my way back through the rest of the screws. Start here at the stop pin. Make sure you don't torque down on these too hard, because especially if you're using a slightly lesser quality Torx bit, because it's either going to strip out the screw or the bit, and you really don't want either of those to happen. So just put on just enough pressure to hold the knife together. I've said this in past knife maintenance videos, but I usually don't put Loctite on my knives, usually because I disassemble them and reassemble them frequently enough to where I don't need it. So totally personal preference with the Loctite. If you know that you're not going to be disassembling your knife again for a while, then yeah, I would go ahead and put some Loctite on there just to keep everything solid. The screws on this knife are very tiny, so you just have to exercise a little bit of patience when getting it back together. Alright, only two more body screws and then the pocket clip screws. There we go. Okay. Now just get the pocket clip on. I am right-handed, so it needs to go on this side. Nice thing about this knife is that all of the screws go straight into steel, not into plastic, so you're not going to be destroying any plastic threads on this thing. There we go. This screw is a little bit stripped out, but yeah. And the problem with screws that start to get stripped out is that that sort of has an adverse effect on the actual bits as well. So you can have that issue going on. But there we go. So there, the knife is totally reassembled. Now I just need to adjust the pivot to my liking. So as you can see right here, the action is way too stiff for normal use. It's actually not terrible right now, but it's a bit stiff for my liking. So I'm just going to back this out a little bit. I like to get this one to where it can mostly drop closed. I don't want it to be like just freely swinging all the way down, but I do want it to mostly drop closed. So that is about perfect. A little bit of oil in there. So there we go. So that is the Benchmade Bugout, fully disassembled and reassembled. I hope you found this video helpful. I also made a review for this knife, and I will be making a short form review as well. So with that, like I said, hope this video was helpful, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day.